All righty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is Friday, September 16th, day before game day. Pretty big game coming up this weekend. Pretty excited. Definitely ready to see a more of an evenly match as far as physicality and the expectations are. And the stakes couldn't be any higher in this game, in my opinion, because we might not see Nebraska for another 10 years before they ever play again. So a big game coming up. So in today's video, we're going to be talking a little recruiting with a kid that's going to be visiting Nebraska for the OU Nebraska game. And then we're going to be talking general college football, talking more offensive line and other things about the OU Nebraska game, and then just some general college football. And then we're going to make our bets this weekend. I think each one of us have 6 bets or so, 5-6 bets, and we're going to see where we end up and finish. But before we get into it, we just want to say we appreciate it. We're over 5,000. We're knocking on the door of 5,100. If you're coming back, continuously watching us, hit the subscribe button. It's free. Turn the notification bell so you know when we go live, because we're going to be going live 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, for our pregame show before the Nebraska game. This will be our second one. The first one was pretty good, but I think now that this one's on the road, there might be some more people joining us, so it'll be good. We're going to be talking OU Nebraska. We're going to be talking other college football and kind of have our own pregame show to start the game day right. So be sure to join us for that. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Apple and Spotify. Everything's linked below. Everything's at Two Plane Sports. Easy enough to find. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review and follow the channel there. And we're also doing a ticket giveaway for the Kansas State game. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff. Believe it or not, Big 12 kickoff game at night on the 24th of September. So we're going to give away a pair of tickets there. They're not cheap tickets. They're going to be a few $100s total. So they're going to get some pretty good seats. And if you would like to enter into that, you have to be subscribed. You have to turn the notification bell, and you have to stay around for Jose's end of video challenge. And you'll have to comment that you've done all that, and that you're going to answer Jose's challenge. And that way we can pick the winner, and we'll announce the winner on Monday's episode to give time to claim the tickets and make traveling arrangements. And so that way, if you subscribe and you join our membership too, that helps support us. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give everything that we make out of this. We're trying to give it back as much as we can. So we'll get into it today. First topic is Malachi Coleman. I know probably a lot of you guys who watch this channel probably also follow Parker Thune and Brandon Drum and their live streams that they had Wednesday evening. They also talked about Malachi Coleman. And Malachi is a 2023 4-star, number 76 overall, and the number 4 athlete, the number 1 athlete in the state of Nebraska. He's currently being recruited to Oklahoma as a tight end. He's being recruited in various positions to various schools, but it's a tight end for Oklahoma. And he was originally slated to officially visit USC this weekend. Well, not happening. And that has canceled. He's canceled his trip. Does that sound familiar to you, Jose? It sounds familiar to me.
Yep.
I'm not upset over it.
No.
I think it's pretty funny. And
USC fans will get used to it.
Yeah, we're waiting for our USC fans to circle back in here. We always have one or two that likes to pop their head in here every so often. But he's not making the trip out to Southern California. He will be making the trip right down the road. He lives in Lincoln. He's going to be going to the OU Nebraska game. And this seems to be a 2-horse race between OU and Nebraska for his recruitment and his commitment. And it seems like that the winner of this game is going to have a leg up, just like in the OU Texas game. It seems like OU and Texas, whoever wins that game, might win out on 1 or 2 recruits that are going, head to head between the two schools. It's same thing here. I think this is going to have a big influence on him. If Oklahoma rolls in and whoops up on Nebraska, there's already turmoil. Obviously, Mikey Joseph might not be there, who's his primary recruiter, might not be there whenever the official hire is done, and then OU comes in and beats him. I see him trending towards Oklahoma. I feel really good about him, actually. I didn't feel great about him. We've been talking about him for like 6-8 months now. This is the best I felt about him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma is definitely in the lead now, regardless of the outcome of this game. Clearly an Oklahoma win would just help make him feel more confident and the way he feels about Oklahoma. I do think that we should probably be a little bit more patient with this one. I would not be surprised if he holds off on making any sort of verbal commitment until I know he has his commitment date lined up. I believe it's
October
middle of
22nd.
October.
22nd.
I mean, it wouldn't really surprise me if he pushes it off till the end of the season to see if Nebraska hires a coach that maybe recruited him elsewhere, that the school itself just wasn't enticing, might keep him around at home. Clearly, if Nebraska is still since Nebraska is in the race, being at home seems to be at least something that he values, or being close to home is something he values. And obviously, being from Lincoln, there's no closer to that, than the University of Nebraska. So I wouldn't be surprised if his commitment date is pushed back to like December, a couple of days before National Signing Day, just so he can see what happens. But if that day does stay what it is, which you said it was October 22nd, something like that, then I would assume that at that point it is Oklahoma for sure. Didn't really seem like any other school outside of Oklahoma, Nebraska, or even really in the race anymore for his commitment.
Definitely. So, and if OU can land him and for the tight end position, John Finley, that's going to be a massive win for him and a massive win for this offense down the road. A guy that can be recruited both on the offense and defense. We're recruited as a wide receiver and a tight end, and then an outside linebacker and an edge rusher. You want a guy like that on your team, and to add him to this 2023 class would be massive. So, not to add. Not that there's really added pressure to this game. There's already enough pressure, but there's recruiting or some recruiting impacts from this game for both schools. And I still feel like OU takes care of business, and we can roll into a little more OU Nebraska talk. I know we talked about that game, talked about that game on Wednesday, but it seems like that Wanya Morris is going to be back for this game, and the biggest talking point for this team. And I know people got upset about, the title of the video about Dylan Gabriel and all that stuff. It is what it is. But really, what's holding back this offense is this offensive line. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's just not feeling comfortable, even playing lesser competition. He's just not able to stand back there and feel really confident. And Wanya Morris could be that guy. Granted, he's never really played for Oklahoma. He came out of high school as a 5-star, projected first-round pick. He has the talent to be a first-round pick long-term. He needs to show up. And unfortunately for, the reported reason why he wasn't there was because of academic ineligibility. What he's done to himself is he's going to make his first start, assuming everything gets cleared, on the road in a hostile environment. What do you think?
Definitely going to be a big test for everyone, especially Wanya having to reintegrate into a first team with the first team, going in to play his first game, real game, live action in a hostile environment. Not going to be easy for him. Honestly, and it may be an unpopular opinion, offensive line hasn't been amazing. Don't get me wrong, but they haven't been terrible. Like, they're definitely better than last year. I think last year, with Spencer Rattler, who was essentially a statue back in the pocket, didn't really believe in moving out of the pocket, or at least making plays. He wasn't able to make plays with his feet. That I would 100% say the offensive line was absolute dog shit. But this year, it really hasn't been that bad. Yes, could it be better? For sure. But at the end of the day, we can't expect the defensive line on the other side of the ball to just be like, holy shit, it's Oklahoma. I'm not going to try to get to their quarterback. Like, their job is still to put their best performance out in the field. Definitely, like I said, there's been some issues with the offensive line. I definitely think that there's fair criticism, especially with the interior. There could be some improvements. I think Rame is good, but there's definitely some growing there for him. He's still pretty young, but I think at the end, this offensive line was best when there's a good center. And Rame can be that. He just has to grow into that role. And Met Tower, I think that's really the biggest question mark on this line. I mean, Murray, solid piece. Anton, solid piece. Wanya is going to be tested for sure. But given the fact that he's just being, I don't want to say handed back, because he did earn the starting right tackle position, but he didn't have to work maybe extra hard because Sexton and Guyton weren't really ready to take that starting spot from Wanya. So he separated himself enough where he kind of walked back into his role that he earned during fall and summer. But definitely going to be a test for that offensive line. I think the addition of him could definitely help. Like I said in our last episode, the offensive line just has to work as one unit. You can't have, if you have one guy make a mistake, that's when everything starts to crumble. So maybe those 5 guys just have a little bit better understanding, communication is better between them, and they understand what, the guy next to them is going to do a little bit better. So definitely going to be, I think we're going to see an improvement. I just don't know how much, because while Nebraska's defense has been kind of cupcake so far in these first 3 games for them, they do have athletes on that line that physically, at least compared to Oklahoma's athleticism.
Yeah, and Wanya coming in, I don't expect him to be perfect and polished, because there's a difference between practicing and then actually playing in games. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some bumps in the road for him. Chris Murray, he's been pretty steady. Raheem's been pretty steady. Anton Harrison, I mean, that unfortunately he's been all playing right tackle and other positions. So I don't think he's going to struggle once he gets settled in for sure at that left tackle spot. But the thing is McCade Mettauer, he came in as a Cal transfer, pretty high expectations. Someone that we thought was going to be a plug and play, and granted, he has started, and it's been a lot of up and down with him. My question is how long does this offensive staff give Mettauer in this game? Because here's the deal. I think that Nebraska, they know where the weak spot is, at least historically over the last couple of weeks. It's at that guard position. And it's not Chris Murray's side. It's Mettauer. How long does Mettauer have if he's struggling before I think Congo gets put in? I just think that Congo might not be quite as good, but Congo's going to come in and at least play pretty sound for you and know where to be. Or Congo, however you want to say it. I wouldn't be surprised that definitely by the third quarter, but it might happen in the second quarter. If OU's offense is struggling a bit, I would not be surprised if Mettauer gets benched, because this would be the game. This is when it really starts. And if they're struggling, it's that one spot. I would not be surprised if he gets benched in this game.
I don't think he gets benched. I mean, I said it myself, and I agree. He's been his position has been the weak spot of the offensive line, but he also hasn't just made glaring mistakes. And at the end of the day, he's gotten beat more often than we would like, for sure. But again, assuming if he is the best option at that guard position, like, where's the upgrade? And maybe Congo can at least help come in, and maybe his communication is a little bit better. His chemistry with Raheem and Anton is a little bit better, but he would have to make a lot of glaring mistakes in the first half for him to get benched. I think if we haven't seen it by now, it's not going to happen unless, again, it's something where, like, even someone that really doesn't understand the game of football, like just, a common fan, if they're watching this game and saying, wow, that interior alignment is really making it look super easy getting through the line, then I could see it be like, all right, the coaches clearly see this issue as well. Then let's give Conjul or Bird some playing time here to see if that can improve the interior. I just don't think that we're going to see that this game, because going back to the point, the offensive line, they need game reps. And if they're going to get better as one unit, you can't just make it a practice. It's got to be in real-time situations, and just got to roll with it until they either figure it out, or, again, there's just glaring mistakes where Coach B says, you can't be doing this anymore. I got to put someone else in. Yeah,
I just think that it's time to figure out, I know Morris hasn't been here, but the time that they're going to give him is getting shorter, and it's definitely now or never. Something's got to happen. So hopefully
that's more likely. I would say that's more likely during the Kansas State game. I don't see it happening this time, especially since there won't be as many people traveling. They might, they might not even bring an option that would be a natural fit to replace Tower during the Nebraska game.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, that's something that obviously not only me or you are going to be watching. I mean, I would imagine most Sooner fans that really follow it closely are going to be watching. Let's talk. I just got a question for you. So, what are who are the X factors on offense and defense for Oklahoma in this game? Like, if you pick one or two guys on each side of the ball, don't pick a whole unit. Do you need a second to think? I can say who mine are, or what? Do you want to go ahead?
You go first. Let me think about it for a second because I'm having trouble at least on the defense.
Yeah. So defensively, I see that Jalen Redmond, Jordan Kelly, Isaiah Coe, those interior defensive linemen, and Jeffrey Johnson are the X factors, those two positions, because they need to bottle up the running back. The running back is what moves this offense for Nebraska. And I would be placing a heavy, heavy emphasis on stopping him. And then along the offensive line, offense, of course, McCade Mettauer and Wanya Morris are the X factors for me. I feel like that's probably a pretty easy pick, probably a safe pick. I mean, those two guys are the guys that everyone's looking at on the offense. Can they provide some stability? So those would be, a couple guys on defense, couple guys on offense for me. And if they all play well, Oklahoma's going to run away with this.
All right. So my first one will be on the defensive side of the ball, and to pick out one individual person, Jeffrey Johnson. I know he just went through some stuff with his family. So T's and P's to him and his family. Hopefully everyone's all right. But usually after something like that, guys are a little bit more motivated just to perform a little better in honor of their loved one. So I think Jeffrey Johnson is gonna be in that situation where he wants to perform that at that next level, and have the inspiration of that family member with him. And on the other side of the ball, I'm gonna give it to Marvin Mims. I'm going to probably say Marvin Mims every single time, just because for the rest of the year, for every game, he's just the number one receiver. I think it's unquestioned now. He's one of the best receivers in college football. Against this defense, I think there's no reason why he doesn't have 100 yards receiving again, maybe over 150, just depending on how the ball is spread out. But yeah, I think those are my guys for this Nebraska game.
Yeah, definitely some guys to keep our eyes on. Very excited for this game, and I've been looking forward to it for a very long time. And I think Venables will have his guys ready, and they'll know the importance of this rivalry. If people have been following them on social media, you can tell Venables is really trying to give history lessons, because most of the kids on this team before last year's game weren't really a part of this rivalry unless they grew up a fan of Oklahoma. So we can move on. We're going to talk some general college football and talk our betting picks for this weekend. And we're going to see who's going to have a good weekend as far as betting goes. So let's talk a few games this weekend. Overall, I think, for the most part, there aren't a ton of big time matchups. This is kind of the week where a lot of big time programs are playing the FCS schools and the small schools and just getting ready for conference play. But the first one that comes to my mind is Oregon BYU. That's at 2:30 on Fox. That'll be a pretty good game. I mean, BYU's coming off a pretty emotional game against Baylor, and they beat Baylor there. Obviously their future Big 12 foes, and then you've got Oregon. Can Oregon bounce back? And I know that they took it out on Eastern Washington last week, but this is going to be Oregon's first true test since Georgia. And this is probably a measuring stick game for them to see, okay, well, we're not Georgia, but we're not bad. Can Bo Nix actually, play well in a big game? I don't know if he can. And I know they're lucky that this game's in Eugene, because if it was at BYU, I don't think they'd beat BYU for sure going on the road. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so I agree with you there. The measuring stick comment, definitely going to be a time where the team needs to prove it to their fans, and more so, Dan Lanning. He's got to show that he was the right guy for the job. To It's not even really rebuild, because it's not like the team was terrible last year. I know Cristobal left and he took some of the staff with him, but he has talent, at least on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's got two good linebackers there, and Noah Sewell and Justin Flo. So it's not a completely gutted team that he's having to completely rebuild. Um, so his defense should at least be good. So that's at this point, that's really the biggest question mark. Can he stop someone? And BYU is definitely a test, because their offense is good and their defense is solid too. I mean, Baylor, before last week's game, Baylor in their first week, they played Albany. So I understand, not really a huge opponent, but they scored 69. Like that, the Baylor offense can score, and BYU was able to hold them to 20. And Baylor, I think, scored about the same thing, about 50. I know they scored 50 plus in their first game, so they can score as well. If their offense gets rolling against what so far seems to be an Oregon defense, I can't really hold anything. Oregon has zero shot. Again, Pac-12 looking pretty weak. Utah bounced back last week, so them and USC at this point are their brightest stars and potentially making it to a playoff this year. But I definitely would not rely on Oregon to look great. I actually think BYU, this game is where BYU shows that they should be taken more seriously this season, in hopes of getting to that conversation for a playoff spot.
I agree. BYU is not one of my bets, but it was tempting to take them because they were like a 3.5-point underdog, I think. But I just don't know, coming off the big win against Baylor, can they get up for this game? And I think they will. I think it'll be a pretty good game, and I wouldn't be surprised who wins either way. A couple more games that I see that are relevant to us, and they're going to be pretty good. The first one being Miami and Texas A&M. So Miami's going on the road at Texas A&M. They're going to be playing at 8:00 on ESPN. Texas A&M coming off an abysmal loss against Appalachian State. Miami's coming in, obviously, with Mario Cristobal, ranked number 13 right now. And Jimbo Fisher is looking for a win. This is a must win. If they go back-to-back and lose back-to-back, they're 1-2 to start the season. Recruits probably start questioning. Boosters start questioning what is wrong with this team. I mean, Jimbo's already getting questioned enough, and I know he's wanting to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins this game. I mean, the Texas A&M offense is in disarray, and I don't know. I don't feel like, I look at Texas A&M and they don't scare me. Granted, Miami doesn't really scare me either, though. That's the problem, is Miami only scored 30 on Southern Miss. I guess OU only scored 33 on Kent State, so that can be the same argument. But I just feel like that this game can go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised. I do think Texas A&M wins this, because I know that they're going to be like scrambling for a win. What do you think?
See, I don't know that A&M wins this. I think they're definitely the team that has the desperation behind them, because they did just lose to Appalachian State. They've pretty much been the butt of the joke all week after that. They do like a midnight yell the day before the game. They look like complete assholes and dumb, because they got their asses kicked. Their defense looked abysmal. Their offense looked even worse. I mean, they're definitely in a desperate spot here. Jimbo Fisher, if he manages to lose this one, I don't know if recruits will start questioning it, because they'll still get the bag no matter what, who's their coach. But boosters will definitely start questioning if Jimbo Fisher was the right guy for the job, because they paid a hell of a lot of money to get him out of FSU. They're paying him a bag to be the coach for A&M, and again, helping pay the recruits that they're landing, which is not a bad thing. That's the rules. Pay them if you want, but you can't pay these guys to not perform, and you can't pay Jimbo Fisher to not be to create a winning program. Like you can't have the number one class, and we talked about this before we started recording. If you have the number one class in last year, and you don't have a terrible class going into the 2023 cycle, even they have very few recruit or commits at this moment, but they're all top 100 players if I remember correctly, or most of them are at least. So it's not a terrible recruiting class, just small. You can't do that and then put out an 8-4 team year after year. Like, you're essentially saying A&M at this point is showing that they are the Dallas Cowboys of college football. They just have a ton of hype behind them every single year and can never perform up to the standards that the talent that they have on the roster should. And at this point, it really just, if they lose, I think Jimbo Fisher is the next one on the hot seat after Auburn's head coach. I think it would be Auburn's head coach, and then Jimbo Fisher is just really close right behind him, because like why would any booster shell out any money for a program that's coached by this guy if he can't put at least a 10-win season and get them competing for the SEC championship? Like, just do that, and I bet they'd be happy at this point.
I tell you what, I am pulling for Miami. Geez. I know Brandon, if he was here right now, he'd be ragging on Miami because they don't have their own stadium. But I tell you what, nothing would make me more happy than seeing Texas A&M go down again. Now, Texas A&M is a 6-point favorite. This is not a game I'm going to bet on. I'm not picking this one. I just feel like that this game can go either way. But I wouldn't be surprised if Miami storms, rolls into College Station and beats them. So
it's all dependent on the game plan, because Miami does have a good offense, but can they do? It doesn't even have to be the exact same thing as Appalachian State. Just have a similar game plan, which is essentially just time of possession. If you can just keep the ball, make it every time you have the ball, make it a methodical drive down the field and get a field goal, hopefully score a touchdown. You keep A&M, A&M's offense just waiting, Jimbo Fisher just frustrated with that situation. They get flustered. I mean, Haynes King is not the answer. And again, if Jimbo Fisher doesn't make the change and sees that Haynes King is not the answer, another reason why he's potentially going to get canned.
Yeah, can't wait for that game. I'm definitely going to be watching that. Another game, and this one's relevant to one of my bets, and we can kind of roll into it, is Texas UTSA. Not many teams lose the week before that were unranked and then end up being ranked in the top 25, that like Texas did. Texas is the number 21 team in the country, according to the AP poll, and they are taking on UTSA. I am putting Texas on upset alert this weekend. I am taking UTSA. It's plus 11, no, plus 12 and a half. 12 and a half, UTSA plus 12 and a half. Quinn Ewers is not going to be playing. Their card is probably not going to be playing, and they're going to be playing most likely their third string quarterback, and it's going to be Charles Wright. Charles Wright, he's a sophomore. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of Austin High in Austin, Texas. I think Texas is coming off a game where it was an extremely emotional game. It's a letdown spot. And some people would say, and I would kind of agree, they probably should have beat Alabama, but they ended up not doing it. And now they play a team like UTSA that is extremely, extremely dangerous. I think UTSA is a game that they roll in. They think they're pretty good and they're better than UTSA, and UTSA can score. They scored 41 against Army. They lost in heartbreak fashion against Houston in week 1. I would not be surprised if UTSA wins outright, playing it against their third string quarterback coming off a letdown, high emotional loss. And this is a letdown spot. I am putting Texas on an upset alert this weekend.
I think it's fair. I don't know if I would put them on an upset alert, but I do think it'll be a close game. Their offense is definitely going to be handcuffed without their starting quarterback and their backup. I think you said it was Charles Wright, right? That's going to be the starting quarterback for Texas, which, I mean, we saw last week. They did have a injured card in, for most of the game, and they were able to get down the field somewhat. But so I mean, their offense will probably look very similar to their offense last week after Quinn Ewers got hurt, where it's very conservative. It's really going to be, I think this is a game, if Texas can pull it out, it's because Bijan Robinson had a hell of a performance and their defense was able to do their job and get UTSA off the field. I don't think the quarterback is really going to be, I mean, I could be wrong, but I really don't think the quarterback is going to be the reason that Texas would win this game. I really don't. I think it's got to be Bijan Robinson getting his opportunity and just running all over the UTSA defense.
Definitely. And Texas's defense looked pretty good against Alabama. But the week before, I mean, they didn't look great. And UTSA, they scored 41 in their second game, and they've scored 35 in their first game. They're averaging in the high 30s every game. I would not be surprised if they put 30 on Texas this weekend. And I'm taking them plus 12.5. And we can kind of get going into our bets. So that's my first bet. Jose, do you want to say your first one?
Yeah, real quick. The two games we just covered with Texas and A&M, the only reason that I don't think that they're going to get beat is because they're both playing at home. Kyle Field is probably going to be packed, 100,000 plus. That's going to be a tough environment for Miami to play in, since they really never play in front of fans. And Texas, and we saw the crowd last week, they're probably going to be just as important for this game for them. So that being said, my first pick, going back to the A&M game, I'm picking Miami to cover. The line I saw was 6.5. They're the underdog. I think that they're going to keep it close. I understand that I just said the crowd is going to be a factor, but at the end of the day, I think the Miami offense is good enough where they're going to put up points. And I really wouldn't blame someone if they took, well, let me see what the point total is there. But if it's pretty low, I wouldn't blame anyone for taking the over. I don't know how good Miami's defense is, and even though A&M's offense is garbage, they could put up points if Jimbo Fisher makes a quarterback change. But that's my first pick, Miami plus 6.5.
All right. And also, I failed to mention what our records are right now. I'm 11-7, and Jose is 10-10 overall. So at the end of the day, neither one of us are doing bad. If you're 50%, it's not bad.
And if you want to join us on this adventure of betting throughout the season, I have revised the link. The link is down below. It's all on BetUS. You can go use the link, sign up, helps us out if you do. You can bet with us, bet against us, fade me. So far, last week was kind of bad for me. So if you think it's going to happen again, fade me. If you want to follow Brum, follow Brum. If you think we're both big dumb dipshits, do your own thing, but bet responsibly.
For sure. Definitely bet responsibly. So my second pick is Nevada, Iowa. Iowa's a 23-point favorite. Honestly, I don't know if Iowa has the capabilities of putting up 23 points in two games, because they failed to do that total. I was an idiot last week and thought that Iowa would beat Iowa State by 3.5 or more. I'm taking Nevada plus 23. I don't think Iowa knows how to score 23 points or 24 points to win this game. And Nevada's not bad. They're 2-1. I'm not buying Iowa. I look like an idiot, and I am not buying them.
Last week, I pledged that for the rest of the year, I will be taking Iowa's under every single game. So I will be doing that. I got the point total at 38.5. If you can get it any higher than that, definitely take the under. But I'm taking the under this game. Nevada would have to do something crazy, because as much as Iowa's offense stinks, their defense is the only reason they're in any game. They've been in any game so far. I don't know if anyone saw. I don't know if you saw, Brum, but Stoops and I think it was Iowa's basketball coach got tricked into doing cameos for Iowa's offensive coordinator Brian. I don't remember how to pronounce the head coach's last name, but it's his son, Ferentz. Yeah, Brian Ferentz. I guess he's the offensive coordinator for Iowa. they've been making cameos talking about how everyone loves you, but you just need to find a different profession because that is an anemic offense. So I will be taking the under, and I will be taking Nevada plus 23.5 because Iowa can't fucking score that many points.
Yeah, I don't think the scoreboard works to that high of a number.
That's one where I think the sports book, whichever one you bet on, is giving you free money. Why would they make a line that high for an Iowa team that hasn't even scored 2 touchdowns? 1 touchdown. Have they scored 1 touchdown? They might have lost. So 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they did last week. Yeah, I mean it's brutal. Iowa's definitely going to. I mean, I just don't see it. Nevada plus 23.5. Depends on where you look. My third game is actually a game tonight. Florida State, Louisville. Florida State, I am taking them minus 2.5. They beat LSU, which, some people might say put Brian Kelly already on the hot seat, not really, but they haven't been bad. I know it's on the road at Louisville. I think Florida State's a pretty solid team. I think they could roll in there and take care of business. And I just see that the quarterback Travis is going to make some plays, and the running back Ward will do the same. And they're going to be able to, at the end of the day, it's 2.5 points. They're going to beat them by more than a field goal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I'm not going to roll with that one, but my next one is Alabama minus 49.5. They are playing someone that I can't remember, not a big program. It is at home, so they don't have to worry about, the opposing fan base because, as we all learned last week and probably should have known even before then, Nick Saban's kryptonite is true road games. So that being said, I will take Alabama since they're at home, winning by 50. I think that offense is good enough where they can recover and do just fine for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and then my fourth game is Texas Tech, NC State. Texas Tech is going on the road to NC State. They are a 10.5 point dog. I am taking Texas Tech plus 10.5. I feel like it's going to be a late game, a primetime kick at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Texas Tech's 2-0. NC State, on our first pregame live show, I said that I would take ECU. I think it was plus 13.5 or something like that. I think NC State's good. I think they'll probably end up winning. 10.5 points is a lot of points. Texas Tech can score points. They just beat Houston this past weekend. And Houston was ranked 25 last week. They're not bad. I think NC State has a little bit of issues getting up for games and staying motivated. And I think Texas Tech is extremely motivated and they can come in. And I think they're on a mission. If they beat NC State, this team's not as bad as I expected them to be completely honest. I think in the Big 12 preseason rankings, I think I picked them to finish like eighth or ninth, maybe even ninth. I think right ahead of Kansas and right behind West Virginia. And West Virginia might be the worst team in the Big 12.
Yeah, they're definitely making a run for that. I'm actually going to add a game for myself before we get to the Oklahoma game. Kansas plus 9.5. I think Kansas is actually not a crap program this year. Lance Leopold, their head coach is pretty good. He's been able to get those guys motivated and getting them to play at a pretty good level. Houston, Holgerson, struggling. I think that they're actually going to make it a game. Kansas might even win that game. It is at Houston, so it's going to be a tough environment to play. Again, given that they also play against, when they are at home, they play in front of 0 fans. So, could be a little bit of a challenge there, but I think Kansas is good enough where if they lose by a touchdown or less. So I think 9.5 is very favorable to take that line.
Sounds good. My second to last pick is Michigan State, Washington. I am going to take the over on the point total. It's 56.5. Washington can score the ball. Michigan State can score the ball. I just think that they're going to be running up and down the field against each other. I don't think there's going to be a ton of defense. I think both schools probably score, it's going to be like 34-31. I don't know exactly who wins that game. Michigan State, I think so, can go up there and beat them. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be 60-plus total points. Not a lot of defense, and both teams can score the ball. So I'm taking the over 56.5.
I like it. Not going to take it, but Penix is a good quarterback. I think that's going to be a guy that we're going to hear his name a lot later on in the season, maybe going into the draft or after the draft for next year. I'm not sure if he's going to declare for this year. He is a junior, so he's eligible, but Penix is a good quarterback. My last pick is Nebraska plus 10.5. I think Oklahoma wins. I just think it's going to be a close game. Their offense can score points. Mark Whipple is a good OC. I think it's really the first big test for Oklahoma's defense. I think the defense is good, but can we hold them to very minimal points? That's going to be the big question there. Can the offensive line protect Dylan Gabriel, even though Nebraska's defense has been pretty bad? Again, they're still athletic enough that they can challenge Oklahoma's offensive line if the offensive line is bad just based on their athleticism. I think it could be a high scoring affair. The offense, the playbook for both sides of the ball is being expanded, so it's not going to be this vanilla football game that we've been seeing over the first 2 weeks. I just think that, one, Nebraska can score. Two, they have nothing to lose. Neither the players nor the coaches have anything to lose at this point. And I am intimidated by a team that has nothing to lose, everything to prove, and they just can their head coach. I just think it's going to be a close game. Oklahoma wins by 7, even 10 points. I could see me just sweating this line the entire game. I just don't think it'll be by 11 or more.
A wounded dog is the most dangerous dog. I tend to agree, but honestly, I'm going reverse. I'm taking OU minus 10.5. I could see a world where that does happen. I think I picked on Wednesday's show. I think I picked OU 38-24. I'm going to stick with that. I think Oklahoma might just blow them out. I've been saying it for a while. I thought Scott Frost was going to get fired after this game because OU was going to beat him so bad. Granted, he did it enough to where he secured the bag for an extra $7.5 million getting fired before October. So congrats to him. He like Coach O, just looking where do I need to sign and leave. But I think OU is going to come in motivated. I think that defense is going to be ready to play, and they're going to bottle up that running back. And Casey Thompson will turn the ball over. And I think that I just think that secondary for Nebraska is horrendous, and they're going to get picked apart. And I think this offensive line can finally gel together and play some solid ball. And I think OU is going to have no problem, and they're going to have to jump out quick. Don't let this, Nebraska fan base get into this game, because the longer you drag this out playing against Nebraska, the more dangerous it gets. So I'm going to take OU minus 10.5 or minus 11, wherever the sports book says it is. I feel confident that OU can take care of business there. So I think that is everything. What do you have to say?
I hope you're right. I hope we come back for Monday's show and I am 5-1, and that being my only loss. I'm intimidated, I guess, by the fact that they just canned Scott Frost, and these guys are probably going to be a little bit more motivated to show what they can do on the field, especially again in front of their home crowd.
Yeah. I could see a world where that happens. I do think the game is closer because Scott Frost is gone.
Oh yeah, if Scott Frost was around, I think you said it. That bought them a touchdown in their favor. If it was the other way around, give me Oklahoma by 20.
Yeah, and I think the line might have actually been bigger than 10.5, 11 points. But so we both had 6 picks. You had 6 picks, right? Or 7? 6 or 7?
6 picks.
Six. We both have 6, so we could see Jose might be 16-10. At the end of this week, I might be 18-7. I don't know, but if you want to join through the link, helps us out. Fade us, bet with us. Maybe we go 6-0, and someone might be wanting to start betting with us, and because we might be getting hot. All right, so that's all I've got. Do you have anything to add before you roll into your end of video challenge?
Let's do the challenge. So for today, even if you don't want to bet with us, what's your lock of the weekend? It can be college football. It could be NFL. It could be baseball. If you're a baseball person, I'm not. I don't know shit about it. But if you're big into baseball and you want to give us a lock there, put it in the comment section. Doing that will get you entered into the ticket giveaway, like Brum said at the top of the video. Other than that, make sure you also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and subscribe to the channel because we can track that.
Yep. And make sure to say that you've done it, and then your lock of the week, and we will keep track, and we'll announce it on Monday's show. So made it this far, we appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. Leave us a review on the Apple and Spotify if you could. It helps us out a lot. And be sure to join us tomorrow, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, for our Two Planes pregame show. We're going to be talking OU, Nebraska, general college football, Texas on upset alert. Like I said, could that happen? I might look stupid. I don't know. A lot of things to discuss. Week 3 of college football is here later tonight. Obviously, one of my first bets is going for the Friday night game. So we will catch you guys tomorrow morning.